We are now delighted to hear from Sandbox AQ and specifically Jen Sovada, who is an innovation leader and a 2023 Fed 100 winner. Retired colonel, Jen Sovada is president of Sandbox AQ's global public sector focused on government issues at the nexus of quantum physics and AI. She served 25 years in the Air Force in intelligence focused on higher ed technological capabilities, and she commanded the Air Force Technical Applications Center, the DoD's sole organization responsible for nuclear treaty monitoring. Please join me in welcoming Jen Sovada from Sandbox AQ.
All right, you have me right before lunch, so I'm happy that you're sticking with it and not heading out early. But what we're going to be talking about today is quantum and AI. AI is a buzzword that's out there. There's a lot of hype around it. Quantum is also something where there's a lot of buzz and a lot of hype. But what's the reality between and within both of those? If we look at what the global spend was, or what the US spent in getting us to the moon, over the period of a decade and a half, we spent $25.8 billion. However, if you compare that to what is going on currently within the world, for just this year for quantum, we're at $36 billion is expected to be spent. This is why quantum is a topic of interest. Quantum is an area that we should be focusing on, but also looking at the relationships between quantum and AI. We're right now in the third quantum revolution. This is the area where we're looking at how do we build applications at scale and engineer at scale for three primary areas: simulation and optimization, as well as quantum computing, sensing, and then really looking at secure communications and types of things like post-quantum cryptography and other areas of security. And we're really looking and transitioning from a world of bits into a world of atoms. If we think about how classical computers works, they're ones and zeros, and how quantum computers works, they're really at the atomic and the subatomic level. And the theoretical basis of this modern physics explains how we do this and why we do it, and enables us to have much faster processing, as well as better insights into the data that we're coming after. And how does AI play into this? AI is really trying to help us to look at those insights and provide better information. And so we have physics providing the models and the information, and AI is extracting a lot of the data and helping us to refine what we're looking at. And so how do quantum and AI impact the things that we care about? From a material science and biomedical and biochem simulation perspective, AI really is able to get us to the levels of breakthrough that we need very quickly as models learn and grow. From sensing and position, navigation, and timing, we are able to take the noise out from what we see from a signal. And then in the security and communications perspective, we really need to have AI to accelerate our insights into what we're seeing in the communication space. And let me start off by talking about AI from a simulation perspective and screening for new materials, for new drugs, for battery technology. We have more information than we know what to do with. The typical time that it takes a pharma company to develop a new drug is about 17 years. The same holds true for many new materials developments. And we have this near infinite amount of options as to what we need and how we could develop new materials. And with that, we know that LLMs, for example, are something that everybody's like, yes, LLMs, this is what we need today. But LLMs are not the answer for all AI problems. Oftentimes, we need to marry up the AI that we have with other things like simulation. And in this case, we look at how do we take this problem, where we've known for a long time that quantum chemistry and AI enable us to really get after and understand the chemical world. But until today, we really haven't had the ability to conduct those calculations at scale and understand the insights that we get from them. But now, after decades of scientific advances, we now have the ability to apply this to the material science world, to the biopharma world, as well as to many other aspects of simulations, such as financial simulations. And so how does this happen? You don't need a quantum computer. That's the first thing that is really insightful. But as we transition to quantum computers, the same types of calculations can be made, and we can use this in a hybrid environment. And it enables us to really get after the accuracy of quantum mechanical principles with the insights at the speed and scope of AI. And we can filter down from thousands and thousands of possible combinations to just a few that will enable us then to look at that from a more detailed, or maybe even taking it to the wet lab if you're doing a pharmaceutical, or taking it to bending the metal if you're trying to build a material. And that AI enables us to get it from years to months. Another area that we look at is, how do we make these materials, for example, in a Department of Defense use case, lighter? How do we enable the US Army or our international partners to decrease the weight of their tanks to enable more mobility and getting across large expanses in aircraft? Or for battery performance and extended range, how do we enable us to move away from carbon-based fossil fuels into something that would enable us to now use batteries for other applications? And then moving into sensing. There are two primary cases that I'll talk about today. The first one is healthcare. In a healthcare environment, we know that we continue to need to find ways to provide healthcare data more efficiently, effectively, and at lower cost. And so how do we do this in a quantum environment? MRIs are quantum devices, but they're very expensive. And so instead we can look at something like a magnetocardiogram and run it to look at the magnetic field of our heart. Because in addition to the electrical field, we have a magnetic field within our heart. We can do this now with the help of AI in an unshielded environment, in a passive way, so it doesn't actually have to touch your body. And we can now take out all of the noise that's around us. So the hospital elevator, the other machines that are having magnetic interference, as well as just everybody else's magnetic energy that they have as they're moving around. And from there, you can see in the middle chart that we have the ability to pull out what the actual cardiac characteristics look like. And then when we combine all of the heartbeats through AI, we can now get to higher level signals that enable us to see what is going on inside someone's heart. And if we relate this to a national defense use case, we have GPS jamming, which is occurring regularly in the Ukraine and Russia area, off the coast of Taiwan, off the coast of Australia. Israel is having GPS jamming. GPS jamming is becoming really the way that people are trying to interfere with both military aircraft as well as civilian safety of flight. And so what do we need to do is we need to figure out what is available to us in order to improve and augment that capability. And with that, we can use magnetometry again to pull the magnetic field of the Earth and apply AI to it to get the noise from the signal. And that enables us to build a map that is very similar to a map that we see today using that magnetic field, which gives us accuracy levels that are very similar to GPS. So as GPS goes out, we can still navigate and not drift hundreds and hundreds of meters off course, which is dangerous for a transoceanic flight that has their fuel measured to the minute. And then finally, the last thing is talking about security. From a cybersecurity perspective, post-quantum cryptography is something that has been mandated by the US government, and many other governments are following behind their guidance. And what has been directed is that there needs to be a discovery of all of the encryption that is happening on your systems. And then once you have that inventory of your encryption, you then need to figure out how do you migrate to post-quantum cryptography to enable your systems to be safe from quantum attack. However, this is something, especially in government systems, that is so large and so elaborate that it is very difficult to do in a one-to-one evaluation from person to person. And so AI enables us to look at what are your high-value assets, what are the things that continually, as you do a continuous inventory, continually be affected by cyber attacks, as well as those cyber attacks that continue to evolve over time. And as quantum computers come around, how do we ensure that the algorithms and the standards that NIST is establishing are continuing to be safe and securing our data? And so AI enables us to do that through understanding insights, learning patterns, and then enabling us to make those decisions very quickly with little to no human interaction unless you want it to be, and then in turn enable us to have a more robust cybersecurity presence. And so with that, it's a short little discussion about AI and quantum, but AI and quantum are the things that really go together, sort of like peanut butter and jelly, if you like peanut butter and jelly, or other things, because of the amount of data that comes through from quantum simulation, from quantum sensing, as well as from a cybersecurity perspective. And without that, we would really be blind to the true nature of what we're able to discover, what we're able to impact, and how we can use these things not only in a defense situation, but also globally to help with other things that are happening in the world. Thank you.